The team at iointeractive is responsible for some of the best stealth games out there, and so when they announced that they were making a James Bond game, I couldn't help but be excited. And now that the time has come to play it, oh my gosh, they freaking nailed it. And right off the bat here, I want to let it be known that I have always liked the iointeractive games all the way from their days when they made the Freedom Fighter games back in like 2003 or something like that.
We're all getting so old. Why are you doing this to us?
And more recently, I've actually gotten into their Hitman series, which is just like a hardcore stealth experience where you're changing disguises, you're trying to find different routes in order to get to your target and take them out in the most convoluted ways possible in order to get the best score. But when it comes to those games, the things that were lacking for me was the combat, the gunplay, all the things that just made a game more cinematic and explosive just weren't part of the Hitman series.
I can see that you're worried, and I just want to assure you, I am not
An action-adventure game.
I cannot feel pain.
But as we all know, that's not what Hitman was trying to be. It wasn't trying to be the next James Bond game. It wasn't trying to be this explosive adventure like Uncharted. It was more of a contained stealth experience that just was so great for what it was. But I truly love to see iointeractive stretching their legs and trying something new with this James Bond game. And man, like I said at the beginning, they nailed it in all the ways that I was hoping that they would. And so let's get right into it and start talking about this awesome game. And I know what you're asking yourself. What even is 007 First Light? And so essentially what this game is a third-person narrative-driven espionage action-adventure that tells James Bond's original story as a young recruit earning his 00 status. And so from that description, you can tell that this is not your normal typical 007 story, but it's an origin story of a character that we know and love in a place where we're not used to seeing him in, a place where he's naive, he doesn't know everything, he's not as seasoned and mature as he is in the movies. But the thing is we get a good old James Bond story here because James is as charismatic as we all love him to be. He's got his funny quips and moments that you're just like laughing about because he just says something that's just so off-colored, and it just feels like something I would hope that I would say in the moment. But you know, I'm not as cool as James Bond, but I mean, it's something to dream for, right? And one thing, just a highlight of the story and the way that it's presented, is the voice acting is incredible. The facial animations are incredible. And this is specifically the cutscenes in the game that are done really well with the voice acting and the facial animations. It's not that way in the normal game when you're running around. You don't see those crazy awesome facial animations or anything like that. It's more stiff there. But when it comes to those cutscenes and you're seeing the interactions between James and, let's say, a cute girl, you see that she's into him. You see that. You also see that people are annoyed in the quips that he says and things like that. And so it just makes for a really believable character in a believable world. And it's just very fun and entertaining to be in. And so now you know the story is pretty good, the voice acting's great, the facial animations in the cutscenes, of course, are great. But here's the thing. This is a game. This is a video game. What is the combat like? What is the moment-to-moment experience like when you play 007 First Light? And so I'm going to break this up into three parts: stealth and combat. And starting off, let's talk about stealth. So the way the stealth works in First Light is essentially it's broken up into two parts. There's the Hitman style of stealth, which is a mix of taking on disguises and using your gadgets to get into places that you're not supposed to be, essentially. And when you get caught, you can bluff your way out or lie to get the enemy close to essentially knock them out, or you can bluff your way and say, hey, yeah, I'm supposed to be here for this thing, and it convinces them that essentially you're supposed to be in this area, but it's only for a limited amount of time that enemy is tricked.
They were so convincing in their argument, they swung me.
And while this does give you time to really like drink in the environments that these devs have created, which are unbelievably gorgeous, by the way, but I will say that these social sections where I'm supposed to be social stealthing around, figuring my way out, finding out everything, which is spy work and everything the 007 does, it felt like this killed the pace of the story for me, because the story would be going strong, going hard and heavy, and then all of a sudden I'd be stopped by this investigative work where I'm trying to find the different aspects of this thing, trying to stealth my way past guards into places that I need to go in order to progress the story. And the thing is on the harder difficulties in this game, the resources that you use for your watch and the gadgets that you have are very scarce. And so in the very beginning of each level, you have your full amount of resources needed in order to use your gadgets. But as time goes on throughout the mission, you're using your gadget to get into those places where you need to in order to progress the story. But the thing is when you use those, the resources are gone from your inventory. And so then you need to go and find them and replenish those. And this isn't just a one-time search and then you get all the things you need in order to finish the whole level. Every time you come across an instance where you need to cross a guard, get into a place you need to go and scour the environment for those resources in order to continue the story. And so it just became very tedious, especially on, like I said, the harder difficulty. And I just thought that was very disappointing for me, especially given the fact that these guys did the Hitman games where the stealth, the social stealth in that game is honestly beyond measure. So well done, so good. And I just felt like it was poorly implemented here, just because I felt like I was doing a scavenger hunt for those resources throughout, because there was not really many other ways for me to get through those sections.
The only way it could be worse is if you were like a serial killer.
And here's the thing, the other part of the stealth that happens is essentially when you're going around in those environments that you're not supposed to be in, you have the ability to knock people out, you have the ability to sneak around, to run from cover to cover and do all this stuff. I really enjoyed that aspect of the game because that aspect felt like I had the most control over how to get to where I wanted to go, and I really enjoyed that part. But the part of the gameplay that I absolutely loved and adored was the freaking combat. And I gotta say, iointeractive really nailed the combat aspect of this game because it really does feel like you're John Wick going through laying down the law, because the way that it's broken down when it comes to the gunplay and when it comes to the hand-to-hand combat is just so fluid and feels just like you can go from one to the other so quickly, and it's so much fun. Like, it just is so well done. And so as I mentioned in that little description there, is the combat is broken up into two parts: hand-to-hand combat and gunplay combat. And getting right into the feel of this hand-to-hand combat, it feels like a James Bond movie just taken straight out of the movies, where it has heavy impacts, clean counters, and short but brutal exchanges that lead to some of the most cinematic hand-to-hand combat that I've had in a game in a while. And I'm gonna be honest, every time you walk into a fight and you start hand-to-hand combat, you are laying down the law. You're throwing bottles at people, you're drop kicking them, you're grabbing their head and essentially sprinting them into a wall or over a ledge or table. And once they've hit said wall, you can grab their head and smash it into the wall and knock them out. And so it just makes for a really cinematic combat experience, which is just so fun to play and so fun to learn, and is surprisingly deep. And on top of this hand-to-hand combat, you have some great feeling gunplay where you're able to shoot people in the kneecaps and they kind of stagger. You can shoot them in the hand and they drop their gun. And honestly, you can go between the hand-to-hand combat and the gunplay seamlessly. So you'll be fighting someone, shooting at them, you'll see that they're behind a table, you'll sprint at them, jump over the table, kick the gun out of their hands, grab the gun out of the air, shoot them in the face with the gun that you just grabbed. And it just honestly just makes for this really awesome cinematic combat that is unbelievably fun to play, and also just a freaking like sweet treat to your eyes. It's just, oh, it's so satisfying when it comes together and you literally feel like John Wick, and it's just so good.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
And so as you can tell, I think this combat is something truly special and something truly fun, and I wish there was more of it throughout the game. And there's a lot of it, right? Like every level, you're getting a good amount of the combat, but like I had mentioned before, the parts where you're doing the spy work and stealthing around and investigating to make sure you understand the situation before you get involved and all that stuff. And while I didn't enjoy that part of the game, that doesn't mean that you won't, right? There's some people, you know, different flavors for every different person in the world. They like different things, and there's nothing wrong with me not enjoying that part of the game, but also you might love that part of the game.
Oh my God. I love this. I love it.
And one last thing on all these things that I've talked about, from story to combat to the way that the hand-to-hand and gunplay comes together, is it really balls into this fantastic cinematic movie-like experience, because it without fail builds up every mission and ends in a climactic experience where you are just like, holy crap, this is epic, this feels like a movie, and this feels like James Bond. And so now we get to the point in the video where you decide for yourself whether or not this is a game for you. And I gotta say, despite my issues with the game and the slower aspects of it, I still walked away having a hell of a good time being James Bond and playing through this really cool experience that iointeractive has curated here. And so with that, I hope to see you guys in the world of spies, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.